It was only a matter of time, but I knew this would eventually happen. The outrage just has to go to one of these black NBA players, especially when the white coaches are getting criticized, especially from Trump. Just like Tom Brady is the face of the NFL, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury are the face of boxing, Roman Reigns and Becky Lynch are the faces of the WWE, LeBron James is the face of the NBA. And of course, this was going to land on his front door. Just think about this for a second. Even though this incident was sparked by a tweet from someone in the Houston Rockets organization, it eventually ended up landing in the hands of LeBron James, who is a Los Angeles Laker player. Not Houston, but LA. And he's getting attacked all because a white guy wanted to tweet his response that had something to do with outside of the US. And LeBron is the one who's getting backlash for it. Okay, so now it's his turn to receive over-exaggerated outrage. Yes, I said it. Over-exaggerated outrage. Because keep in mind, LeBron James' comment had absolutely nothing to do with what is happening over in China. But of course, everything he said was going to be dissected, and they just had to find a crack. They just had to find that little crack in order for the narrative to be pushed that would initiate the backlash towards LeBron. So how did we get here? Well, it all started with a man by the name of Daryl Morey. Now, Daryl Morey is the American sports executive and general manager of the Houston Rockets. Now, keep this in mind. China, it is the NBA's second biggest market. The NBA makes billions of dollars from China. So Daryl posted a tweet or an image that said, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong." The tweet was in support of the protesters in Hong Kong who are protesting against China's crackdown on their freedoms. And the people of China, most of them are getting a censored version of the protesters, like them desecrating the Chinese flag. But what China are seeing is not the same as what we're seeing over here in America. They don't understand the reason why they're protesting. They don't understand why the people of Hong Kong are very upset with China. And due to that censorship in China, the idea that an American is supporting or encouraging Hong Kong to defy, you can say, Chinese authority, is kind of like a diss or a disrespect to the Chinese. And because they see Daryl Morey's tweet as offensive, is what led to the Chinese to take action. This is what led to the Chinese fans being outraged with Morey. And this is why he started receiving the backlash. They got offended by his tweet. And because of that, it led to the NBA losing sponsors in China. It led to the Rockets preseason games no longer being broadcast in China. The media now swooping on all these prominent coaches like Steve Kerr. They're trying to get questions from Mike D'Antoni, the coach of the Houston Rockets.
Steve, obviously the big story in the league right now is Daryl Morey's tweet and everything going on with China. Do you have any thoughts on that situation?
Actually, I don't. I mean, it's a really bizarre international story, and a lot of us don't know what to make of it. So it's something I'm reading about, and just like everybody is, but I'm not going to comment further than that.
How challenging is that for you at this point? I mean, I'm sure there's you may want to comment on something.
No, I mean, actually, what I've found is that it's easy to speak on issues that I'm passionate about and that I feel like I'm well versed on, and I've found that it makes the most sense to stick to topics that are that fall in that category. So I try to keep my comments to those things. But, so it's not difficult. It's more I'm just trying to learn. You know, my brother-in-law is actually a Chinese history professor, and I emailed him today to tell me what I should be learning about all this and what's happening. So I'm trying to learn just like everybody else is.
And it led to Adam Silver stepping in support of Daryl Morey by saying, you know, freedom of speech is allowed.
Are not apologizing for Daryl exercising his freedom of expression. I regret, again, having communicated directly with many friends in China, that so many people are upset.
And the coach of the San Antonio Spurs, Greg Popovich, was in support of Adam Silver in this stance.
Freedom of speech, I felt great again. He's been a heck of a leader in that respect, and very courageous. And when you compare it to what we've had to live through the last 3 years, there's a big difference, big gap there, leadership-wise and courage-wise. And it wasn't easy for him to say. He said that in an environment fraught with possible economic peril. But he sided with the principles that we all hold dearly, or most of us did, until the last 3 years. I'm thrilled with what he said, and as I said, the courage and leadership displayed is off the charts by comparison. We've all talked about or heard about all the questions that all the talking heads have and everybody for the last 3 years. What kind of country do we want to be? Who are we? Where do we want to go? That sort of thing. Adam said something that helps you understand what direction you need to go in.
And then, of course, it landed into the lap of Donald Trump, and he started giving his take on the ordeal, or more so of a diss towards Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich.
Are the Chinese wrong to be putting pressure on the NBA, sir?
Well, the NBA is a different thing. I mean, I watch this guy, Steve Kerr, and he was like a little boy. He was so scared to be even answering the question. He couldn't answer the question. He was shaking. I don't know. He didn't know how to answer the question. And he'll talk about the United States very badly. I watched Popovich, sort of the same thing, but he didn't look quite as scared, actually. But they talk badly about the United States, but when it talks about China, they don't want to say anything bad. I thought it was pretty sad, actually. It'll be very interesting. Excuse me?
Are you okay then with the Chinese government pressuring the NBA over Hong Kong?
They have to work out their own situation. The NBA's, they know what they're doing, but I watched the way that, like, Kerr, Popovich, and some of the others were pandering to China, and yet to our own country, it's like they don't respect it. It's like they don't respect it. I said, what a difference. Isn't it sad?
So now we are seeing reports of these white guys in the news about this. So it was only a matter of time. It's like these black athletes, the media just got to get a talking point so they could feel the backlash as well. Now, I'm not saying that was the agenda, but it really did seem that way. You start seeing NBA players being roped into this. The Houston Rockets players, James Harden and Russell Westbrook, were being asked of this since it was their GM who tweeted this.
Hi, Christina McFarland, CNN. The NBA has always been a league that prides itself on its player and its coaches being able to speak out openly about political and societal affairs. I just wonder, after the events of this week and the fallout we've seen, whether you would both feel differently about speaking out in that way in future. It's a legitimate question. This is an event that's happened this week during during the NBA? This particular question has not been answered. James.
Any other questions?
Big ups to that woman who stopped that from happening. And I saw tweets from people and it was mixed. Some applauded her for stopping that reporter from asking. And then there were also others who didn't like the fact that they were silent. And once I saw that happening, I said, uh-oh, it's only a matter of time. And I posted this tweet up. I said, I get that the question wasn't directly about China, but we live in an era where everything is taken out of context. No matter what Harden and Westbrook said, the outrage would have been towards them. A no comment would suffice. I really do feel like when these incidences come up, I feel like these black athletes, whether the NFL or the NBA, they need to study the Tom Brady playbook. They need to study the Tom Brady approach. When Tom Brady was being interviewed by Oprah and she was asking him on his take about Colin Kaepernick and him kneeling for the flag due to the injustices at the hands of police officers, I feel like all black athletes should follow the same playbook that Tom Brady had played. Check this out.
And you know what? You respect what other people, I do. I respect why people are doing what they're doing. And they're doing it for different reasons. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. I just, you can do things for your reason. They can do things for their reason, and you have respect for that.
That's what black athletes need to say. Whenever they're asked these questions, what's your take on such and such? If they are not well versed in whatever that's going on, that is the playbook that black athletes need to follow. Follow Tom Brady's playbook. Study it. Because when you don't, you get in a situation that LeBron is unfairly getting placed in. So now we get to LeBron James. And of course, no matter what he says, the outrage was coming regardless if he chose the side. Some would argue that he chose a side, but he really didn't. Majority of the people just read headlines and come up with a talking point they saw on social media and they just run with it. It's more comfortable being in a group think tank than to have your own thoughts and ideas. Unfortunately for LeBron, as I said before, he was going to feel this thing regardless. If he supported the Hong Kong protesters, he would receive outrage from the Chinese, just as Daryl Morey is receiving it now. If he supported the Chinese in their stance, the Hong Kong protesters would be outraged with him anyway. Here's the video that everybody's up in arms about.
I felt like with this particular situation, it was something not only was I, not informed enough about, I just felt like it was something that not only myself or my teammates or our organization had enough information to even talk about it at that point in time, and we still feel the same way.
How do you think the league handled the situation overall?
I'm not sure. I'm not here to judge how the league handled the situation. I just think that, when you're misinformed or you're not educated about something, and I'm just talking about, the tweet itself, and I'm just talking about, the tweet itself, and I'm just talking about, the tweet itself. You never know the ramifications that can happen, we all seen what that did. Not only did for our league, but for all of us in America, for people in China as well. And sometimes you have to think through things that you say that may cause harm, not only for yourself, but for the majority of people. And I think that's just a prime example of that.
And then later, LeBron had to follow it up with tweets because, we live in an era where people's comprehension skills have diminished and context doesn't matter anymore. He said this in his tweets. Let me clear up the confusion. I do not believe there was any consideration for the consequences and ramifications of the tweet. The tweet he's referring to is Daryl Morey. I'm not discussing the substance. Others can talk about that. And then in another tweet, my team and this league just went through a difficult week. I think people need to understand what a tweet or a statement can do to others. And I believe nobody stopped and considered what would happen. Could have waited a week to send it. Now let's break this down. People's over-exaggerated outrage towards LeBron is bullshit. LeBron said that Daryl was misinformed, and he was. Not in the sense of why the people of Hong Kong are protesting, because keep in mind, LeBron is not versed in what is exactly happening and the reason for it. He is saying Daryl is misinformed due to the fact that he was not aware that his tweet would cause outrage. Had he known that, he wouldn't have posted that tweet. And if he was informed, you know what Daryl would have did? He would have waited or quit his position as general manager, then post that tweet. But when you're misinformed, you end up backtracking. Now, he made a follow-up statement. This is what Daryl said. Quote, I was merely voicing one thought based on one interpretation of one complicated event. I have had a lot of opportunities since that tweet to hear and consider other perspectives. I have always appreciated the significant support our Chinese fans and sponsors. I would hope that those who are upset will know that offending or misunderstanding them was not my intention. Unquote. This is why LeBron said that Daryl is misinformed. Not because he doesn't believe in freedom and democracy that others should fight for. Because he's not versed into what is happening there, so he can't speak on it. Heck, LeBron didn't say anything about supporting the Chinese or the Hong Kong protesters if they were right or wrong in their actions. All LeBron is focused on is what was Daryl's actions with tweeting and not understanding what that would entail. If Daryl wasn't misinformed, he would have known what the ramifications would be tweeting that as a GM for the Houston Rockets and costing the company and the league money. If Daryl wasn't misinformed, he would understand that most of the people in China are not given the whole story as to why Hong Kong are protesting. If Daryl wasn't misinformed, he wouldn't have posted that tweet while still working for the NBA. If Daryl wasn't misinformed, he would have put more context into his tweet as to why he supports the Hong Kong protesters. This is why LeBron said that Daryl is misinformed. It had nothing to do with him supporting the Chinese or Hong Kong protesters. It's basically telling Daryl in his position as GM of an NBA team, think before you tweet. Simple. Show support for Hong Kong, but also bear in mind the lack of information that is shared with most of the people in China, especially when you don't know what is being fed to them daily. Like I said earlier, most of them don't know exactly what the people of Hong Kong are protesting for due to extreme censorship. Just be mindful of how to support the Hong Kong protesters, but also bear in mind that a lot of people in China are not able to see the sun due to manufactured clouds. You get what I'm putting down? This idea that black people who have enormous platforms, who happen to speak about injustice that black people in America face, will no longer be taken serious, that is not happening. The viewpoint from LeBron whenever there are issues that affect the black community and raising awareness about said issue, we will take him serious and we will want him to speak. It's quite amazing the extremes people go through whenever they feel someone black says something they themselves don't like. They want to say, well, it's not important. If he speaks about injustice at the hands of police, he can't speak on it. He only cares about his pockets. No, we are not shutting them out that easily. And I feel that's the route that people want to go to. Whenever prominent black voices have spoken out against injustice directed towards black people, that's when their voices are somehow supposed to be silent or not taken seriously. We're not relying on the Larry Elders, the Diamond and Silks, the Ray Lewises, black people who only criticize black folks and refuse to tackle white supremacy or racial injustice implemented by white people. Those are not just our only voices, our only prominent voices that we expect to hear, or silent voices like a Michael Jordan. For example, tonight, the Lakers play the Warriors. If LeBron, during his warm-up, is wearing a t-shirt with a Tatiana Jefferson's face on it, kudos and applauses to him. And if you think we are not going to support or respect that due to his comment about a white guy's tweet that he made weeks ago, you're sadly mistaken. LeBron has done more for the black community if you think we are just going to turn and look the other way when LeBron speaks or raises awareness in issues that affect the black community. That's not going to happen. So in conclusion, LeBron is getting an unnecessary, exaggerated outrage. When situations like this happens that was created by white men, black men, just as Juicy J say, shut the fuck up. Just stay silent when it doesn't affect you. Because we see they get silent whenever black people bring up issues that affect us, or they criticize us for speaking out against what is affecting us mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Just be quiet. Say no comment. Or, as I said before, black athletes, whenever issues comes up that you're not well versed in, just take the Tom Brady approach.
You know what? You respect what other people, I do. I respect why people are doing what they're doing. And they're doing it for different reasons. And that's okay. I just, you can do things for your reason. They can do things for their reason, and you have respect for that.
Study it, black athletes. Especially you, LeBron James, face of the NBA. Well, that's all I got for you guys. This is Macadon. Until next time, I'm gone.